If you've ever peeked into your worm bin and wondered whether your worms were getting the right diet, you're not alone. Many gardeners start strong with vermicomposting, only to end up with sluggish worms, sour-smelling bins, or compost that just won't break down. Feeding worms isn't complicated, but it is precise. Get this right, and your worms will reward you with the richest, most biologically active compost you'll ever add to your soil. Let's talk about what really works, what to avoid, and how to keep your worm farm thriving year-round. Feeding worms begins with balance, not volume. The biggest mistake new vermicomposters make is overfeeding. Worms eat far less than most people expect. A healthy rule of thumb is to feed roughly half their body weight in food scraps per day. For example, a pound of worms can comfortably consume about half a pound of food waste daily. This balance keeps your bin aerated, prevents odours, and maintains proper moisture. When you add more than they can handle, uneaten scraps start fermenting. The smell signals distress, acidity builds up, and the bin environment turns toxic. Feed less, but feed regularly. Think of it like keeping a sourdough starter alive. You want consistent, gentle inputs rather than sudden loads of waste. The best worm foods are nutrient-rich and easy to digest. Your worms thrive on soft, decomposable material that breaks down quickly. Kitchen scraps like vegetable peels, fruit rinds, coffee grounds, and crushed eggshells form the backbone of a good worm diet. But the magic lies in mixing greens and browns. So, greens are nitrogen-rich materials, things like your fruit peels, tea leaves and coffee grounds. On the other hand, browns are carbon sources, such as shredded cardboard dry leaves or even paper. The ratio that works best, really, is 2 parts greens to 1 part browns. This balance, it actually mimics nature's composting rhythm and keeps those microbes active, which in turn fuels your worm's digestion. If you've got a small bin, it's a good idea to chop or blend food scraps into smaller pieces before adding them. This honestly accelerates breakdown and reduces the risk of anaerobic pockets forming inside the food layer. There's a persistent myth out there that worms can eat anything organic, but in truth, some foods really destroy the bin balance. Citrus peels, onions, garlic and spicy foods can acidify the bin and actually repel worms. Dairy, meat and oily foods tend to attract pests and slow down decomposition. So stick to clean, plant-based scraps. If you accidentally add acidic materials, just sprinkle a light dusting of pulverized eggshell or garden lime to neutralize pH. A ratio of 1 tablespoon per square foot of bedding every few weeks keeps acidity under control and ensures calcium availability, which, by the way, helps worms reproduce. The secret to feeding worms efficiently is layering. Instead of tossing food on top, tuck it just beneath the bedding surface. This creates a microclimate where heat, moisture and microbial activity are consistent. After feeding, always cover the fresh scraps with a layer of moist bedding. Shredded cardboard, paper or coconut coir. This layer absorbs excess moisture, controls odour and prevents fruit flies. A well-managed bin should smell earthy, not sour. If it smells off, it means too much food or not enough aeration. Simply stop feeding for a few days, Stir gently and add dry bedding to rebalance conditions. Worms don't just eat. They rely on microbes to pre-digest their food. So the more microbial diversity you introduce, the more powerful your compost becomes. Add small handfuls of aged manure, leaf mould or finished compost once a month. This inoculates the bin with beneficial bacteria and fungi that accelerate breakdown. You can also make a simple worm smoothie, a mixture of blended kitchen scraps, a bit of water and a spoonful of molasses or rice water. Pour it into one section of the bin rather than spreading it all over. The worms will flock there, eat efficiently, and leave the rest of the bin to aerate. Moisture is food too. Worms drink their environment. Worms breathe and absorb moisture through their skin, which means a dry bin equals a dying colony. Keep moisture levels at about 70 to 80%, similar to a wrung-out sponge. If it feels too wet, add more shredded paper. If too dry, mist lightly with dechlorinated water. Using rice water occasionally adds gentle starches that microbes love, giving your worms an energy boost. Just don't overdo it. A cup or two per small bin every couple of weeks is plenty. After about 3 months of consistent feeding, you'll notice the bedding turning dark, crumbly and rich. That's your vermicompost. Stop feeding for a week before harvesting. Push the finished compost to one side of the bin and add fresh bedding and food to the other. The worms will migrate naturally over the next few days, leaving you with pure, worm-free compost. Use your harvest immediately by mixing 1 part vermicompost to 4 parts soil for seed starting, or apply as a top dressing for potted plants and garden beds. Worm compost is teeming with living biology that boosts root health and soil resilience. A thriving worm farm is a sign of a balanced gardener. The beauty of vermicomposting is that it's self-correcting once you learn the rhythm. You'll start to recognize when your worms are happiest. The bin smells sweet, the castings are uniform, and the worms are active near the food layer. When you feed right, you're not just recycling scraps, you're cultivating a miniature ecosystem that turns waste into abundance. If this guide helped you understand the heart of worm composting, give it a like, share it with fellow soil lovers, and subscribe to Gentle Herb Living for more time-tested, nature-based gardening wisdom. Your soil and your worms will thank you for it.